All right, picking up where we left off with the magazines. Let's see. We did Clover already. Jennifer, we didn't do you? All right, let's take a look at Jennifer's. All right, and let me try my best to get all this stuff out of here. All right. So talk to us a little bit. We haven't seen this yet, have we?
How this is all seafood seeding is creating a lot of unintended wetlands that have cultivated this huge migratory stopover for birds. Um, and then I just found some images, and like the articles images, just to not mess with like the copyright stuff. But I found a few stock images of shorebirds and went into Photoshop and took the backgrounds out. Uh, and try to keep it kind of like generally faithful to the species they're actually talking about in the article. Um, yeah, and then they didn't have a subheading, so I just made one up.
Okay. Comments, what do you guys think? We haven't seen this before. Yeah, no, I think you did a really nice job on it. The Salton, do you guys know where the Salton Sea is? The Salton Sea is a little bit of weirdness in that over 100 years ago, uh, the Colorado River accidentally got diverted into the desert and water poured in there for months and months and months before they finally corrected it. And it left this completely unnatural lake that's massive in the middle of the desert. And it's slowly kind of drying up because it's not naturally fed by anything. So, but it has turned into this great kind of bird refuge on here. I love the font you chose for the headline and the subhead. Do you remember what it is? Yeah, no, yeah, it's really nice. And what I love is what you did. You basically used one font, but by using different weights and the italic version of it, it gives it a lot of variety, yet it all works. My one thing is, and um, part of me is saying, well, the rest of the headline here should be closer to flock. Are we asking people to do too much to jump from shorebirds flock to? What do you guys think? No one has any. Yeah, it's like I kind of don't want to would do it want to do anything to ruin your type. One thing you could do without really moving anything on here is let me see if I can open this here. This can actually save you a lot here. Let's see. I'm sure I don't have your font, so it's yeah, exactly what I thought was going to happen. One of the things you could do, and I'm just going to do it. The pink boxes are telling me that what do you know? So it's an Adobe font, so it found it really quickly without me having to look for it. Um, one thing you could do, I mean, ideally, I just love what you did down here, so I wouldn't want to screw it up too much. One of the things you could do is, and let me do this. One of the things you could do is simply add an ellipse. Do you guys know what an ellipse is? The way you find an ellipse is the dot, dot, dot when you want to break something up and continue it. What most people would do is just hit the period 3 times like that. That's actually not the right way to do it. What you do instead is do option and the colon. Obviously now it's going into the other page, but you could probably just tighten up your letter spacing here a little bit. I mean, you could definitely finesse it. And then if you do it down here, that would be one way to connect it. So you see this a lot of times when you want to break up quotes or things. That way you wouldn't have to do really anything to the layout. It's just really nice. It's really visually interesting. And um, your letter spacing here might be a little too tight. You can see the letters are kind of crashing together a little bit. Um, but especially what you did here. Oh, and you have the ellipse here on the quote here. Um, I think this turned out really nice. Um, the only thing that might be missing on here is an actual shot of the Salton Sea. Just so people see, we see the huge flocks, we see specific birds that are mentioned in the article. Even if you had just maybe ghosted an image of it in the background or something, but I think that would be my only criticism of it is if we're talking about the Salton Sea, it would be nice to maybe see it, even if it's just a smaller inset shot here. For print, you don't usually have to put the date that this is, that's kind of standard for digital articles, but you don't really have to do it for print. But that's kind of just nitpicking on here. I think it looks really beautiful. I think you did a really nice job. Anyone have any other comments? You've got your bleed in there, so everything's good. Really nicely done. All right, let's give Jennifer a hand. Let's see. Leba, are you here? All right. All right, since we last saw this, did anything change? All right, comments. What do you guys think? Yeah, I really like what you did with the headline. Now it seems to make more sense. Um, we'd have to do a test print. Part of me is thinking like the background here might have to go a little darker, so 30 out, 38 reads. Even this type might need to go a little bit darker. But here's the thing, I kind of think these would print a little darker just naturally. So I would have you not make any changes till we could see this, make sure that it printed okay. How do you guys feel about the gray borders she put on the pages? And actually, that's a good comment. When you have so many of these items that have been masked out and they're kind of floating on the page, the gray boxes do kind of help ground it a little bit. I keep going back and forth on whether you really need them. It's again, it's a designer decision on there, but now that Ethan said that, I actually think that makes a lot of sense on there. So, um, the one thing too, a lot of this is doing test prints. I would want to make sure that um, the photo back here, oh, I hate this thing. Come on. Uh, I would want to maybe do a test print and just make sure this didn't get a little muddy because you've got it screened back a little bit. Did you just put that with opacity? A better way to do it is probably take the photo into Photoshop and lighten it there so that what happens when you just do opacity, all the tones underneath it are going to be picked up on it. So, but again, I would just do a test print and see, and if you have to make a few revisions to it, you can do that. But overall, this turned out really great, really nicely done. All right, let's give Leba a hand here. Let's see. Melissa, we did. Uh, I'll just do Lilo because I don't know if she's going to come in here, but let's take a look at hers. So she did the Monarchs. She did two of them on here. So, um, we'll talk about the Monarchs here. This looks good. It looks really nice. I love that she kind of picked up the monarch wing pattern in here with the photography in here. I think that looks great. My only thing on here is this, I think you have the space for it, the little quote up here. I would probably make that maybe 25% bigger and just almost make it like part of the subhead on here. Um, I think I mentioned this when we saw it before. What do you guys feel about this font up here with the "Let's talk about" where you can witness? Yeah, it's like the subhead. Um, I think you've got this great type here, and you've got the nice clean sans serif here. I'm not totally sold on this font. If Lilo were here, I'd talk to her about it. She's using it here as well as with these the type down here. So I think it just comes down to designer's choice at that point, even if it's not maybe something I would choose. It definitely works on here, and I love that she called the various sanctuaries out with color. But overall, I think she did a really nice job on this. Let's see her other one, how to make a true old-fashioned here. Looks great. I don't know about doing everything in uppercase. It can kind of start, I think it's okay here. Maybe do this in upper and lowercase. It's a lot of capital letters on here. The one thing, when people are kind of presented with a wall of text, they tend to just move past it. I think because it's white and it's out of the photo, you're probably going to be okay, but I don't know if this needed to be all capitalized. Definitely works at all caps here, but maybe down here, especially because your recipe over here uh, it works all capital letters. So maybe just breaking it up a little bit by doing upper and lower ca case here. This type might have to go a little darker, um, something closer to what you have down here, only because I do think even though she screened this white box back here, I have a sneaking suspicion that the image is going to print a little darker than you think it's going to, um, which might make this type disappear a little bit. And again, it's only something you can figure out once you've seen a test print on it. Maybe old fashioned. I'd be a little concerned that might get lost in the photo too if it prints a little darker. But overall, both layouts. What's cool about this, especially building a portfolio, if you can show that you can adapt your style to the subject matter here, it's always, it's always a tough call because as a designer, you want to kind of develop your voice and your personality, but at the same time, you need to be able to adapt it to various projects and different styles. So I think this is nice being able to show basically adapting your design skills to the subject matter at hand. I think she did a really good job. All right, let's give Lilo a hand here. Let's see. While we did Katie. All right, and you have two spreads here. What if anything changed on here?
Not one's changed on this page, but I created, I made it's still a little bigger, but that page, I kind of made a sticker set and kind of the key features.
Very cool. Um, how'd you do your stickers?
Just images. Found them. I brought them into Illustrator and I made them into remember where it's moment, but I made them that I can do an outline and made them a little bit bigger. And then I brought them back into Photoshop and placed them on the behind it and then brought it back into Illustrator. So it was more clean and less yeah.
No, it's a very cool look up there. Um, what do you guys think? We haven't seen this before. Yeah, I love the whole idea of stickers. The only thing I might be a little concerned with is by making the background shape a really vivid color. It's actually taking away from the color you have in the individual pieces in here. And so it's something I would look at, maybe doing something more neutral, like a light gray there, so you really see the color in the jeans here, the jacket or whatnot. It works the way it is. I would just want to see if that made all the accessories here a little bit uh uh clearer right off the bat. Talk to me about putting the descriptors here going around the side of the shapes here.
Not all the text, but I still wanted to give sort of like, here's what they are, here's the look. If you know, like magazines have like shop the look and they put the little taglines with the designers. So I kind of wanted to get to it from that.
Okay, totally valid. Again, and this is going to come up a lot too. I'm a little concerned that the background might print darker than you think it's going to, which might make some of the type hard to read. But again, we're going to go over and get these printed. If not today, we'll try and do it for Tuesday on here. Um, but yeah, just real minor stuff. But I've always loved your layout on here. It looks great. It looks really fun. The vintage images, um, with a great headline up there. Um, yeah, it's just a color issue. I would just want to see how stuff prints. Same thing here, just making sure. No, I don't think it's that. I think here's the issue, and you did it just through opacity on here. So what happens when you do like take this planet here? It's kind of got a slight orangish tint to it, but by what's going to happen is when you go to print this, you're going to basically pick up the olive green that's on the background and then try and put the orange over it. And so it could get a little bit muddy, but again, you're not going to know until you actually print it out. Um, but yeah, this looks super fun. Other than that, we're going to go over to print technology at some point. We're getting a new printing press in that does stickers. We can already do stickers, but this machine is specifically built for it. Um, I always try not to have my biases creep in here. Personally, I hate having to turn stuff around to read it. But like you said, you want to make it look like a real sticker set. Uh, you can do that. There's actually some Photoshop effects. If you really wanted to make this look like a sticker, you could kind of get it to look a little dimensional if you wanted to. I don't think you need to. But overall, this is great. It's really fun. It's just a color issue on here and seeing what it prints out. I think you're going to be pretty close on here to what you see on the screen. Um, but again, just making sure that I'm trying to get people to not do the thing with the opacity only because stuff ends up when we do print it, it does tend to look a little muddy when we do it. But again, the proof will be when we actually print this out. But this turned out great. Really nicely done. All right, let's give Katie a hand here. Jisoo, let's see. All right. Oh, Nazareth, are you here? She did not come in here. I'm trying to see. It doesn't look like a whole lot changed on here. So the comments I had last week when we looked at it still hold true. I'm having a little hard time trying to figure out where I'm supposed to look. I've got the headline here, but I've got this over here. I've got the big strong illustration down here. So there's not really a clear hierarchy on here. Um, and yeah, I think the other thing too, this is Alphonse Mucha, probably the preeminent artist of the Art Nouveau period. Um, it would be interesting if you're only going to do 2 pages here and we're only going to see 2 pieces of his artwork. It might be nice to see two, drastically different images. And if you look at her and her pose and her expression, it's not a lot different from this one over here. So I might have swapped out a different image for this one just to show a little bit more range on it. But again, and if Nazareth, if you are watching or listening to this, if you can, definitely resave this with your printer marks on here and the bleed on here just to make sure it works. But yeah, basically the same comments I had last week still hold true here. Let's give her a hand anyhow. Edgar. All right. So talk to us here. Has anything changed since we saw this?
Put more color into the first image to provide the image on the right side too. I remember I had like low passing on it to for the angle. Instead of centering the type, I just push it to the left side.
Okay. And yeah, he's coming out a lot cleaner now. Again, I kind of sound like a broken record. We'd have to see how it prints to make sure he doesn't totally vanish. I think you're okay on that. Um, but I'll be honest with you, this looks like it could be a real layout in a music magazine. I think you did a really nice job with it. The little hits of color, I think the little brighter color really helps on there. Um, but overall, my only comment on here is see if you can save it with the bleed and the crop marks on here too. And like I said, it's a real tiny part of your grade, but it is a part of your grade, and it could make the difference between, being a B plus or an A minus or whatnot. So this goes for anyone. If you didn't put the printer marks on it, definitely take the time to do it. But I think it looks great. Any comments from you guys? You guys aren't very communicative today. I guess there's nothing new with that. Oh, down here. Here's the thing, I think, and again, it always comes back to let's see what it prints like. I just know stuff prints darker, so I think you'll be okay. If you only lose a few letters and we can still fill in the blanks, I think you're fine. I wouldn't change the whole layout just because you're going to lose a couple uh a word here where we can't figure out what's being said in there. But overall, it's a really nice layout on here. Did the texture, did you add that in there or was that uh part of the images originally?
Uh, I
Yeah, I love that it gives it that texture to the page. I think if you didn't do it, it might look a little static. So I think that really helps on here. All right, so great. Yeah, do go back and put the print marks on there if you can, but you did a really nice job. You guys are really impressing me. I'm really happy. All right, let's give Edgar a hand here. Let's see. Did we do this one? No. Michelle, this is you. Are you here? She is not here. Target sees foot traffic down for 11th straight week. All right, so tying into some of the things that are happening worldwide now. Um, and yeah, so basically what this is, if you're not familiar with it, some big retailers and some big stores like Target, um, have kind of ditched all their DEI policies, because they don't want to be targeted by, pardon the expression, the new Trump administration, and there's been a backlash to it. And so this is talking about that. Um, what would really help here, I think, too, I see hands here. I think what would really help is to actually see some people protesting because that would give it, again, that human touch in here. And we're losing part of the title here, 11th straight week. That seems like that would be something important that you would want to pop out and not have it disappear into the background here. And I just think, maybe smaller type and maybe the addition of some protester images on here. I mentioned things like this where you have an orphan here, that one word at the end. You've got the word target just floating down here. I don't know what that has to do It looks like it might have just got left over from here. So I think they're the beginnings of a real nice layout here. I don't think it's there yet. I think it could be fleshed out with some more photography and maybe just a little more tasteful type design up here. It just seems like again walls of text here. You know, why it matters, what to know. Those are things you might want to pull out and keep large, and maybe the rest of the type can go smaller. If you do that, you could have room for additional photography in here. But that would be my comments on this. I'll also mention too, we have 3 weeks left of the semester, so even if you can't finish things or make changes before I grade this tomorrow, you still have till midnight on January 28th, or I'm sorry, May 28th, to submit any revised artwork. All right, let's give Nazareth a hand. And let's see. I think that is everything that I had turned in at the time of the deadline here. So, we still have time here in class. Let me see if I got word back from Ben on printing to see if we can do that. Otherwise, I want to talk a little bit about your thumbnails for your event poster design. All right, thanks everyone. Really great work. Very happy with it.